plays the team just ahead of them today on the road. I'm nervous about that. My basketball team has won 5 in a row.
Yeah, things are good there.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
My college football team, terrible.
How about your NFL team?
That's what I was leading to. And my NFL team, a year to I'm going to, if only we had Matt Barrows on, who's covered this team forever.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we do, from The Athletic. Matt, I know recency bias. I know they've had worse records. But I'm going to present to you the following, friend. Based on expectations, based on injuries, based on the fact, for example, today, yesterday, I believe I read that Charvarius Ward said that, and I want to try to get this right, he may not return to San Francisco, and it really has nothing to do with the team. It's the mental anguish he's going through from the tragedy he suffered with his child and just being around the sights and sounds. Trent Williams, the fact that, and we've said this before in all seriousness, that their first round pick being shot in the chest is like maybe third worst thing that's happened to the team this year, to the family. This might be, Matt, the worst year in 49ers history, and I don't say that lightly. Am I being full of hyperbole there?
I don't think so. Just for the sake of argument, I'll remind you of the 2020 season, also coming off a Super Bowl year.
Yeah.
Expectations also high. COVID year, they couldn't even get back into California.
Yeah.
They spent the last part of that season in Arizona. So they've had some they've had some dark luck seasons for sure, and some recent ones as well. So, and I should note that, for years, Dave has been just crossing his fingers that I would succumb during his show. And I'm dealing with a really nasty head cold today at the end. So this could be your dream come true, Dave.
It's not even February. and by the way, I to be clear, I cross my fingers that you don't succumb. I'm rooting for you to pull through, Matt. Sure.
Matt's not believing that, is
Matt's not buying any part of that. No, he's not.
Matt,
we appreciate you coming on and working through.
For sure.
Powering through, guys.
Thank you.
Fighting it like a bear cat.
The last game, I thought there was compete level, I guess, early, but it's still kind of a capsule of the back end of the season. And I had forgotten that they'd gotten themselves above 500 and back kind of in the mix. And just the way they finished, Matt, I know it doesn't really dictate the terms into next season, but boy, they really went out with a whimper here the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, for sure. They were 4-4 at the bye. And, they really thought that, we're going to get Christian McCaffrey back. And things are going to change. We're going to do our usual kind of late season kick, and it just never happened. And Nick Bosa said that. He noted that in previous seasons, anytime that they'd stumble, they would right the ship and right the ship with authority and come back and really sort of assert themselves. And this year it was just more stumbling. And you're right, the Arizona game the other night had a little bit of everything that's bothered the 49ers this year. Injuries. Isaac Guerrero hurt on his second carry. Bad special teams play. They were tricked by another fake punt. Bad kicking. Jake Moody was 1 of 2, and the one that he made was that was sort of one of those heat seekers that somehow made it through the line and never got really above 12 feet. And then bad defense. It wasn't a 100-yard game for any Cardinal, although I think if James Conner had been healthy for that game, he would have gone over 100. But the Cardinals finished with 151. These are all sort of earmarks of what has made the 49ers great in the past. They took pride in keeping teams under, or keeping individual opponents under 100 yards. 5 of the last 7 guys that they faced went over the 100-yard mark. There were 4 games down the stretch. They didn't even have a sack. They had 2 takeaways after the bye. 2 takeaways. I mean, you just can't. George Kittle called that losing football, and that's what they were. They were a team that just could not find any sort of formula to win. And I think it's really interesting that, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have an end of season press conference every year. And we don't know when it is. They haven't put out that schedule yet, which means that they are, behind closed doors, and they are making decisions on defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, which guys are we going to keep around, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of things to talk about after this bad 2024 season.
Well, I mean, look, if we're going bright side, I love Malik Mustafa. I love the new what's his name? The new offensive lineman. Why am I blanking? The rookie.
Purdy.
Thank you, Pony. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall went from a horrible story to looking really like a breakout guy. And if I squint my eyes and just assuming everybody comes back, which I know is stupid, I go, okay, well, they got Kittle, they got McCaffrey, they got Pearsall, a healthy Brandon Ayuk, maybe a Deebo Samuel in there. Like, there's a lot of weapons, but what are some of your bright sides, or at least optimistic bright sides, going into next year that you can take from this season?
I think if you're looking at the year and you're understanding, okay, 6-11 year is not what we want. It's not us, but we can use this to our advantage. There are two things: the extra rest that provides. You get all of January off, and these guys have talked all about how going into February takes a toll on you. It's not just an extra month. It feels like an extra 3 months because it's on top of the full season already. So that's one. And then the second is just what you said, Dave. It's that rookie class. They got a lot of snaps. Almost every player, even Tatum Bethune, sort of the last guy picked in that draft class, and didn't play a lot. He played a lot on Sunday. Jacob Cowing played a lot on Sunday. But I think that, Isaac Arendo had a very disjointed training camp and beginning of the season. I thought by the end, he was looking really good. He was looking good as a receiver, even in games where they weren't opening holes for him because they had a sort of a mismatch offensive line. He would get hit in the hole, but he would fall forward for a couple of yards. He's a big guy. He's 223 pounds. And I thought that he played really well. You mentioned Mustafa. Renardo Green started to play
Florida State
a lot better towards the end of the season. Set a rookie record for pass breakups this year. I think that he and you mentioned Charvarius Ward earlier. I think that he and Diamador Lenore are going to be the starters next year, and I think that's that's a nice duo. I think that one of the reasons the 49ers drafted Renardo Green is because he reminded them quite a bit of Diamador Lenore. Sorry, he's more advanced than Lenore was when Lenore was a rookie, but it's just two hard-nosed guys at cornerback. That's exactly what this team wants. So it was a very, very strong class, not only for potential, but they got a lot of, by the end of the season, a lot of these guys weren't really rookies anymore. Purdy played a lot of snaps. Purdy's one of 6 guys who started all 17 games. In any NFL season, that's a remarkable feat. In this particular one for the 49ers, that's truly remarkable.
Talking with Matt Barrows from The Athletic, brought to you by Stockton Honda. Matt, so the offseason is critical. You already talked about some coaching decisions they have to make. We know Brock Purdy's a decision they have to make. They've got a draft. They got free agency. I mean, kind of when you look at that grand big picture to reshape this team, where lands like the order of importance in this offseason for this organization?
Well, getting Purdy done quickly, I think, would be a big help. And he talked about that yesterday. He kept mentioning phase 1 of OTAs, which is early spring, which is basically when the offseason begins for any team. I think he wants this deal done by then so that it's not out there and that, he can concentrate on leading the squad at that point. And I think it will get done. And I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. I might have said something similar, though, last year to you guys about Brandon Ayuk. And I think went into deep August and then was really, really consequential the rest of the year. Yeah, we could do a whole show about that. But I think that this team now, if they didn't know before, they have to know the importance of just getting these things done, getting them out of the way so that you can concentrate on having a good offseason. That's a huge theme. The 49ers had a terrible offseason last year, and it led to a terrible start and a terrible final record. I don't think that there's any question that those things are all related. So getting that done. And then another guy that I think is really interesting, Dave just mentioned Charvarius Ward, very unlikely to come back for myriad reasons, including the psychological ones that Dave mentioned. Dre Greenlaw is a free agent as well. And I think everybody just kind of noted the night and day difference of the 49ers defense when he's on the field.
Matt, not to interrupt, I'm sorry. I know it's early. Did you happen to see the thing going around? Fred Warner's wife or girlfriend, I'm not sure, posted something about when your husband's best friend free agency is going to take him away or something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are speculating. I know it's weird to read into stuff like that, but that certainly doesn't sound like a good sign.
It doesn't sound like a good sign. I'm not going to take that seriously until we actually see free agency. And there are reasons why other teams wouldn't want to pay him a lot of money too, because of the injury. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. I wouldn't cross him off the list yet. But he did show in that one game his potential. It's just one game audition really for free agency this year. So there are reasons to think that he could come back. I mean, I think if he did come back, it would be on a 1-year deal where, just prove it, and then hit free agency again next year when you have a whole string of games under your belt and can tell teams that you're healthy or not. But yeah, to me, the contrast between having Dre Greenlaw there and not having him there was huge. D. Winters started to play better. I mean, I'd almost put him in that rookie class with the other guys. I know he wasn't a rookie, but didn't play much as a rookie. He started to play better at the end of the season. He would be the number 2 if there's no Dre Greenlaw.
We're talking about bright sides to having a bad season. Obviously, a higher draft pick is going to be one of them. And I'm looking at Ben Roethlisberger, DeMarcus Ware, J.J. Watt, Marshawn Lattimore, Minka Fitzpatrick, and some guy, I think Patrick Willis is his name.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, all picked at number 11 over the last 20 years, which is where the 49ers sit. I see various mock drafts, Jihad Campbell, Jelon Walker, the edge out of Georgia. You imagine, John Lynch is going to go. John Lynch, even when he tanks in the first round, seems to somehow find picks in the middle rounds. But I would imagine this draft for every team is important, but really incredibly important for the Niners considering their cap issues.
Yeah, I agree. I think line is the theme here, and the question is whether they could find an offensive lineman that they like. They've sort of looked down their nose at the offensive line in the draft and in recent years. But at some point you have to take one. Not a lot of depth behind Colton McKivitz and Trent Williams this year, but certainly defensive line, I would think it's a deep draft for that. Mason Graham from Michigan would be great. I don't know if 11 is too late for him, but that was what most seemed to be missing towards the end there. Just a real presence in the middle. Both, I mentioned the sack rate and the 100-yard rushers. A good defensive tackle could take care of those issues.
Man, one more for me. I know this team has just kind of dominated the NFC West, and this year to go 1-5, to get swept by the Cardinals, who are the team closest to them, but Seattle doesn't get in with 10 wins. The Rams win the division with 10. I see 3 wild card teams in double-digit victories. I mean, I know they have to worry about themselves, but it just feels like the NFC elevated their play overall this year too. The Niners have some catching up to do.
Yeah, they do. One good thing, they got an easier schedule next year. I don't think there's going to be quite as many primetime games next year. There was a real sleep deficit for them this year. A lot of night games. Matt Barrows is feeling it himself right now. So, I mean, I think it'll just be an easier schedule overall, less travel, more afternoon games, and I think that'll help.
Matt, this is our last go around for the season. As always, we appreciate you. And honestly, you've got players and GMs and owners and coaches and all of that. But for somebody like you, I know you're going to do your season wrap-ups and your postmortems and your previews, and you got draft coming up, but you're also getting some time off a little earlier than I'm sure you wanted, I would hope. So do you book the Cabo trip already? What's in store for Matt Barrows, hopefully taking a break over the next few weeks?
Yeah, we'll have a big piece on Brock Purdy, and I think by now we know enough about who exactly he is. And I think there'll be more interest in the draft this year. Either by the Trey Lance trade that did away with a lot of picks and some low draft picks. There just hasn't been a lot of April interest recently. I think that'll be back in 25.
Look at Matt. We're gonna let him go because Matt, I feel you, baby. You're on the struggle bus and you're showing up for the final appearance. Jason told me during, he's passed me a note. He said, let's take Matt until 10 o'clock.
Till 10. Let's make this extended.
Don't do that. Matt, we appreciate you showing up each and every week. The longest tenured guest, I think, on the entire station, certainly on this program. And hopefully, obviously, we'll talk to you in the offseason here, there, and everywhere during the draft. And if any big moves happen, but hopefully next year on all levels, better than this year for not just the 49ers, but the fans and everybody who covers them as well. But great job this year. Win or lose, Matt, we appreciate you.
Thanks, guys, and Happy New Year to you. And I do look forward to talking to you guys in April or anytime before then.
Right, well, why don't you not talk to anybody for the next few days, though, Matt? rest that throat, drink some broth, brother, and feel better, my friend. Thank you.
And he's out.
Oh, poor Matty.
Yeah.
He was on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
Good for him for coming on. We appreciate Matt Barrows. You can read him at The Athletic. Get yourself a subscription. It really is for the sports fan. No joke. I got one for me, one for my son. That is true. They are not comped. I pay full pop, and it's worth every single penny. We'll take a break. Our friend our friend Sam Amick from The Athletic joining us later this week, as he does every week as well. When we return, Jason, what say we do a little 4 down